can't go after Donald Trump on this at all. Do you really think that Joe Biden
actually
hold on.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Evidence that Trump committed crimes when he tried to imprison him for the rest of his life over bogus charges in New York City, when he tried to put him in prison, bankrupt him? You think he's set on Epstein? This just doesn't add up. So again, I circle back to the basic question: who should be charged, and what should they be charged with based on your reading of the evidence? Specifically, tell me.
So this is a clever trick that these MAGA influencers like to do, is that they want to blame this on Joe Biden.
How is it a clever trick?
Hey, Clay, let me finish my point. Hold on, and then you can tell me why I'm wrong. But let me finish my point.
I said
I answered your question already, Clay, but you keep interrupting me. All right, listen.
So
this is what they want to do.
Tell us what the charges should be.
This entire thing is a failure of multiple administrations. There are Democrats and Republicans in the file. And the bottom line here is that there's an Epstein class and its defenders like Clay, and there's everybody else. And so right now they're defending Donald Trump, who's been covering this up. There are 6 co-conspirators. Clay, there are 6.
Everybody should be charged with crimes.
No, that's not what I said, Clay. There are 6.
You can't even give me a name or a crime.
Do you realize how obtuse you sound at the idea that nobody else can be charged by this? There are 6 co-conspirators in the files that Congress has seen that are currently blocked off. You can't tell me that 1,000 little girls and boys were trafficked and nobody else.
And what the crimes
I don't know their names because they're concealing them in the files, Clay, because the Trump administration is covering this up.
Do you know what?
So you're telling me to tell you something that I don't know.
Time out. All right. Time out. You know, the bottom line, Clay, is this. The best way to work out who should be prosecuted and who should be charged is for every one of these files to be released unredacted.
All right, I'm pleased to welcome back to the show my friend and yours, Mike Nellis, Democratic strategist, host of the Endless Urgency podcast, up-and-coming YouTuber, and a guy who just goes around the corners of the internet, Piers Morgan show and other places, and just kicks Republican ass. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I just like to argue with these people because they're so goddamn soft. They can't handle it. It's hilarious.
It's like almost like Pillsbury Doughboy, right? Just like, you're so soft right there. I mean, like,
well, they built all these like nice safe spaces for themselves, and so like they go on Piers Morgan, they're like, oh, it's going to be safe, but like Piers is turning on them too. It's hilarious.
I know Piers Morgan Uncensored, not quite the safe space it used to be, and somebody who like tracks, you know, his progression in the age of Trump. It is fascinating to watch. Look, your recent appearance on Piers Morgan, let's start with that. You have had a viral exchange with Fox News contributor and Outkick founder or bigwig Clay Travis. You had a back and forth about, you know, the recent Obama video, but the bigger one was the Epstein Files. So talk to me about that, because I just played a clip for my audience. What the hell happened?
Yeah, well, Clay completely embarrassed himself, in my opinion. And it seems like, and I just had a similar exchange with Michael Knowles on his show Bar Fight, where they have nothing to say about Epstein. This cover-up has been so poorly managed and just horrific because of the crimes that are involved here, both in terms of, you know, little girls and little boys that have been abused and trafficked, but also the accusations of violence are terrifying. So they don't have any like moral leg to stand on. So now they're arguing on process. And so Clay Travis is sitting there going, well, these so-called victims of the Epstein Files, like they could just name the names at any point. And I'm like, it isn't their job to name names. And so it should be that the federal government is investigating this, because they did name names to the FBI and those accusations haven't been investigated. And Clay is just screaming at me about what crimes do you want prosecuted? Who do you want prosecuted? And I'm like, well, one, they're blocking out the names of the people. We have 6 co-conspirators that the public does not know the names of still, according to the folks who have seen the unredacted Epstein files, which are still 70% redacted to protect Donald Trump. And then he's like, what crimes do you want them prosecuted on? And I'm like, rape, sex trafficking, human trafficking. These are real crimes. Like, I just don't understand. These guys are so dead inside. And I'll tell you from doing Piers is, like, Clay Travis doesn't believe a single thing that he's saying on Epstein, on the Bad Bunny halftime show, on the racist AI meme that we talked about. Like, he doesn't believe any of that. And last time I was on, I debated Riley Gaines and Jack Probstak. And I've debated Jack 1,000 times over the course of the last year. It was the most dead in eyes I've ever seen Jack. Like, they are so lost right now, and they had all this swagger at the beginning where they believed they were going to be popular forever because people were pissed at us over Joe Biden. And now they're finding out being in charge sucks, especially when your king is the most corrupt president in American history.
Well, you said so much, there's a lot to unpack. First, let's go in reverse order. It's funny how the American people are currently experiencing buyer's remorse regarding Donald Trump versus President Biden. There have been 3 high-quality polls back to back dropping that from, I think it was Harris, Harvard, all the way to Rasmussen, right-wing Rasmussen, showing that the American people prefer President Biden to Donald Trump. So they have buyer's remorse about Trump, number one. Number two, what's interesting is MAGA's journey on Epstein, because my suspicion is, and maybe I'm wrong, because I don't like religiously follow Clay Travis's shit, but during the 2024 election, when the Trump campaign was hyping up Epstein, I suspect that Clay Travis wasn't going, whoa, pump the brakes, guys, there aren't crimes here. I imagine he was riding that thing or shutting his mouth and standing aside and letting others do it because they thought it could be weaponized against Democrats. Lo and behold, it's backfiring even worse on Trump, even though, of course, many prominent liberals and progressives and, people associated with the Democrats have been certainly reputationally damaged as a consequence of this, if not directly implicated in Epstein's crime. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there has not been backsplash against the Democrats either. But Trump is incredibly underwater on the Epstein files. Even his own base recognized that he has done a bait and switch on this. So it sure seems like a very calculated attempt by Clay Travis to go, oh shit, this is bad for Trump. I have to pivot and discredit it. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely. Let's talk about how they built the MAGA coalition, because the first pillar of the MAGA coalition is the QAnon birtherism crowd. And Donald Trump's entry into American politics, his real entry, was in 2012 or 2010, whatever year it was, when he was sending agents to Hawaii to investigate Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. I don't know if people remember this, but like the lore that I can remember of Trump being a jackass in the 2010s is really unbelievable before he became president. And so if you put conspiracy theorists at the heart of your movement, and over time you promise them, we're going to figure out Pizzagate, and we're going to figure out who killed JFK, and we're going to figure out the Epstein files, and then you're in the Epstein files over 1 million times, as Jamie Raskin has said this week, people are going to turn on you pretty fast. And so for Clay, it was an easy way for him and other MAGA influencers to juice their engagement with this. And I hate to use the word sexy, but it's like a sexy sort of scandal because it has sex and drugs and murder and famous people, and you don't know who's in there, and everybody's acting squirrely about it. But now that the shoe is on the other foot, and they have the power, and they realize that Donald Trump is a key central figure of the Epstein files, the ones who are not true believers, the folks that are just on the payroll, who don't really care, like Clay Travis, again, doesn't believe in anything. He used to be a liberal pundit. He shifted to conservative because there was more money for him there. And he's doing that to protect Donald Trump and to protect himself is really ultimately what that's about. And they can't get away from it. And the one thing I'll add here too is Democrats did not take Epstein seriously before Trump became president. Like that's their central critique. And it is true to a certain degree, because I sit here and go, what the hell was Merrick Garland doing with all of this information? What was the Biden administration doing?
Well, could I just say to your point, because I'm in that boat too. Like when people were asking me a year ago, what do you think about the Epstein files? And I'm like, yeah, he's a convicted sex trafficker. Yes, some of the shit looks shady. But as a general proposition, I don't believe in vast conspiracies, especially in 2025, 2026, when we have cell phones. Like it's really hard to put an actual intricate conspiracy together. And then I watched how the Trump administration managed the crisis. And I'm like, why are they inflicting such political pain on themselves? Like for Donald Trump to not just release the Epstein files and move the fuck on, and for them to keep face planting over this, that's what actually got me into believing, oh shit, there must be something more here than I previously thought. Because what else could the plausible explanation be? Why wouldn't they just release this, satisfy the base, and move on?
Well, you have to remember this is a political choice that they're making. They've decided that this not knowing, this shit show of Pam Bondi embarrassing herself yesterday at the committee hearing and then not releasing all the files or doing it in drips and drabs, that's better for them than whatever is actually in the files. Whatever they're actually concealing, this is politically better for them as far as I know. I mean, we have a lot of known unknowns there, but it comes down to this in my mind, which is I believe now firmly, I'm done fighting the wars of the past. I don't care who you voted for in 24. I don't care who you voted for in the 2016 Democratic primary. I don't ever want to fight about Bernie versus Hillary again. But like I'm moving all this stuff along because to me, there's two classes of people in this country. There's the Epstein class and its defenders, and there's everybody else. And you either recognize that or you don't. And outside of Twitter, it's an 80-20 issue. That's why Clay Travis defending Donald Trump on Jeffrey Epstein. That's why him questioning the so-called victims. That's what he said, is so-called victims. And Isaiah Martin and I brought the show to a halt when he said that. Whatever point he was going to make, we brought the show to a complete halt on that because it was such a disgusting thing to say. And he's crashing out on Twitter right now over it. He looks so stupid. And you can go look at all the comments on YouTube. You go look at all the comments on Twitter where there are people who are conservatives that are like, what are you doing? Like, why are you carrying water for him? And it's because, again, he's on the payroll. And Outkick, like I've been on Outkick. I did Tommy Lahren show. By the way, Tommy Lahren's out there defending him too. I tweeted at Tommy. I was like, this is embarrassing for you, but I know you're on the payroll. So like, you got to do this. So it's like, they're trapped by the system that they built, but Outkick is owned by Fox News. Like a lot of their shows are streamed on Fox News. You go on Fox, they're not even talking about the Epstein files. So there's a whole infrastructure of conservative media that's just ignoring this or trying to find a way to defend the undefensible.
So we'll turn to Pam Bondi in just a second. I want to say a few other things to kind of close the loop here in reference to your exchange with Clay Travis. First, and I've seen a lot of Republicans do this in the past 48 hours. They tried to slide in this, police report or FBI report that Trump spoke to a police chief in 2006 saying, hey, thank you for looking into Epstein, as if this vindicates Trump. Actually, it doesn't, because allegedly in the phone call, Trump says everybody knew what Epstein was up to, and he only reached out to the police after the investigation went public. In other words, Trump is effectively admitting that he knew what Epstein was up to, he and others did, and only are now commenting on it after the police began an investigation. So it's actually damning of Trump, not exculpatory, number one. Number two, one of the things that I've been sounding the alarm about or demanding from Democrats, and I had the opportunity to talk to Representative Garcia about this on the House Oversight Committee, is regarding the Epstein files and the Epstein class. The Clintons are now set to be deposed before Congress. They're wanting a public hearing, but it looks like it's going to be a closed-door deposition because James Comer knows the Clintons are much smarter than he is, and he's going to get humiliated if it goes public. I would not give Bill
Clinton a microphone.
No, or Hillary Clinton. I mean, Jesus, she went through the gauntlet with the Benghazi hearings. They're both collectively smarter.
No, even she's pissed. Like she's looking for her opportunity to she's like been private for 10 years. She wants a little payback.
100%. But the thing that I kept telling Democrats at the time, and finally they're now starting to, repeat this, is Republicans are setting a precedent here. And a huge litmus test, and I hope you take this with you too, Mike, in your advocacy for Democrats is, hey, you want my fucking vote, Democrat? You better commit that when Donald Trump leaves office, you're going to put his ass in a chair too. They've set the precedent that former presidents can be forced to testify under threat of contempt of Congress. And if a Democrat is not prepared to do that to Trump about the Epstein files, about crypto corruption, about other shit, then you're too much of a pussy for this position, and you need to make way for somebody who will. I want a fucking public commitment. Start the clock, MAGA. January 20th, 2029 at 12:01 p.m., a Democratic House majority under a Democratic president will put Donald Trump's ass in the same chair that we put Bill Clinton's ass in, and we're going to ask him every fucking humiliating question that we've got about Epstein, cryptocurrency, and everything else. Any Democrat that doesn't get on board with that, get the fuck out of office.
I totally agree, and I think the Republicans don't understand that there will come a time when they are not in power again. So everything that they've done, not just on this stuff, but like everything from the executive orders to the way they've abused power to the way they've abused civil servants, all of that sets a new precedent. That precedent also works for Democrats. Now, Democrats have to have the courage to use power effectively. We have to use power the way Republicans use power, but we have to use it to help people and expose their corruption. And I swear to God, if we elect a technocrat in 2028, whatever comes for us in 2032 or 2036 in the presidential election will be way worse than Donald Trump. I'm telling you, there will be, like, people think Trump is the bottom. Trump is not the bottom of how bad this can get. We're actually lucky that he uses power in such a vain, selfish way. I mean, for God's sakes, they have a former hairdresser who's like turned lawyer who works for the DOJ now, who's trying to indict the 6 Democrats who shot the lawful orders video. And she's so incompetent in her job, she can't get a grand jury to indict these 6 Democrats. You can get a ham sandwich indicted in front of a grand jury. So that's
a competent lawyer apparently can indict.
Lawyer could, but again, it's all sycophants and people that don't know what they're doing. So we're lucky, but it's going to get worse. And it's why Democrats have to create real meaningful change to protect our democracy and to improve people's lives, because the economy is a disaster right now. It was a disaster before Trump. It's a disaster even more now. That's why a majority of Americans will tell you they want Biden back. Like, I mean, again, I'll make this point on Biden, and I love Joe Biden. So don't take this as like me shitting all over the former president. It's when he left office, it's just a fact. He was about as unpopular as Jimmy Carter, who was a famously unpopular president when he left office. Now, a majority of people are like, I miss Joe. Like, that's kind of crazy. That's how bad Trump has bungled this year.
Yeah, no, again, coming from, his favorite pollster, Rasmussen. We're going to close with this. Pam Bondi, because you mentioned it earlier, and speaking of incompetent lawyers, did you get a chance to catch her House Judiciary hearing? What'd you think?
She's a complete jackass. I just want to start there, because a normal human being would be able to turn around and at least acknowledge that the Epstein survivors are in the room. Like, all these women, and by the way, there are men as part of that too. I think we don't talk about that enough. But they just want to be acknowledged, and they just want to know that their government is taking the crimes against them seriously. And Pam Bondi won't even turn around. And then she's got 2 binders in front of her. She brings a burn book, like she's Regina from what's that movie?
Mean Girls. Mean Girls.
Mean Girls. Thank you. Like she's Regina from Mean Girls, so she's going to shit all over members of Congress. That was embarrassingly performative and unbecoming of the Attorney General of the United States. And she's got another binder that has the search history from the redacted Epstein files.
Pramila Jayapal. Yeah.
From Pramila Jayapal. I mean, I'm sure she had it for everybody, but like these are inappropriate ways of acting. And then I saw the clip of her being like, we should be talking about the Dow being 50,000 right now. Why aren't we talking about that? And I'm like, do you think the stock market is doing good so I don't have to take pedophilia and sex trafficking seriously is a good talking point for you? Because I'm a political expert, and I think it's one of the worst things I've ever heard a politician say. Go look online right now. All the MAGA influencers, including the ones that have been trying to like hold on for dear life in this moment, are abandoning them. And the more that those folks abandon them, the more people are going to stay home. And the bigger the Democratic margin rises to a point where they can't rig the midterm elections no matter what kind of meddling they do.
Well, listen, I always appreciate your optimism. I'm not quite there. I certainly agree that the odds are getting even better in our favor. The polls have been atrocious for the Republicans, and those generic ballot margins have been looking better and better for the Democrats. I agree with you on Pam Bondi. She's of this entire incompetent, unpopular cabinet, she's probably the most incompetent and unpopular, and that's saying something because she also works with Kristi Noem. So I mean, like when they're neck and neck, I will say, yeah, I was stunned by this, and I didn't see as much defense of Pam Bondi from MAGA as one might expect. I saw a lot of conservatives saying she embarrassed herself and she should resign. And hopefully she does. But Mike, is there anything you can plug for us or anything that you got coming down? You mentioned Bar Fight with Michael Knowles. Is that out yet?
Yeah, no, it's coming out on Saturday. I think at like 6 o'clock I think it's on Michael Knowles' YouTube channel and probably on the Daily Wire's channel too. So it'll be very odd to see myself on Daily Wire, but here we are. And I got to give them a lot of credit because they invited me and Harry Sisson and Chris Mallory and a couple others to like really go debate with Michael Knowles. And it was a really fun show. So I highly recommend it. I think I'm the first Democrat to ever win a debate with Michael Knowles because the crowd, which is very conservative and by the way, very drunk, they started drinking like 2 hours before the show. They have little paddles where they can vote for the Democrat or the Republican, blue or red. And I won the debate, and Michael Knowles looked shocked by that. And by the way, I think tried to cook the numbers to be like, oh, I think I won 21-14. Be like, horse shit. I saw the numbers.
Wouldn't be the first time they try to steal an election. Am I right? Am I right?
That's literally what I said. Yeah. I was like, it was a rigged election.
Yeah, it's fake. It's fake. We got to take it away. Nobody certify that. Send the fake electors in. Well, Mike, man, I appreciate you. I know you got a flight to catch. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.